You know what sounds fun? Being a jester, performing for nobility, making people laugh, wearing a ridiculous costume with bells on it. What could go wrong? Well, everything. And today, we're tracing the absolutely brutal life journey of someone born into or forced into one of history's most deceptively dangerous jobs, the medieval court jester. Our jester's story often begins in poverty or disability. Medieval courts needed jesters, so they hunted for them. Maybe you were born with a physical deformity, dwarfism, hunchback, severe scarring. Medieval people found this hilarious. Or maybe you were born to a jester family, inheriting the job like cursed bloodline. Either way, you came into the world with a sentence already written. You existed to amuse people more powerful than you could ever become. Some jesters were natural fools, people with intellectual disabilities who became objects of entertainment. Others were trained performers who chose this path, thinking it was freedom from farm labor. They were wrong. They'd all soon learn the same brutal lesson. A jester's body isn't theirs. It belongs to their lord. If you survived infancy, and many didn't, you'd begin training around age 5 or 6. Your childhood wasn't spent playing or learning. It was spent perfecting the art of being mocked. You train in acrobatics, juggling, music, and wordplay, but always with the understanding that you'd perform these skills while people laughed at you, not with you. You learned to take beatings as part of the job. If your joke didn't land, the guards laughed. If your acrobatics weren't perfect, you'd fall and break bones on stone floors. The Lord's court didn't have safety nets. Your fellow servants treated you as beneath them, and your masters treated you as barely human. You learned to smile through it all. That was the real training, the psychological endurance to be constantly humiliated and somehow keep performing. Welcome to your career. You are on call at all hours. The Lord feels bored at midnight, you perform. He's drunk and angry, you entertain him anyway. And one wrong word could get you killed. You have no days off, you have no privacy. You sleep in the servants' quarters and own nothing. Your job involves physical comedy that destroys your body. You're thrown, you're tripped, you take slapstick hits designed to look painful because they are painful. By your 30s, your joints ache. By your 40s, if you've survived this long, you can barely move. But here's the twisted part. The jesters with power were those who could insult the Lord. You had one sacred privilege. You could tell truths that would get anyone else executed. The catch, you had to make them funny. You had to insult nobility, their wives, their decisions, their children, all while hiding the criticism inside jokes. One miscalculation, one joke that landed as insult instead of humor, and you'd be whipped or worse. You watched fellow jesters disappear. Some were sold to other courts. Some were castrated to preserve their youthful voices. Some simply vanished, discarded when they became too old or too broken to amuse. You reach middle age. If you've gotten this far, you're considered lucky. But luck is running out. Your body is destroyed. Your knees don't bend. Your timing is slower. You can't do the acrobatics that once made audiences gasp. You're becoming less useful. The Lord's interest wanes. You're no longer the fresh novelty. New, younger jesters arrive. You feel it happening, the invisible slide from entertainer to burden. You perform knowing you're being replaced, knowing your only value is disappearing. And here's the cruelest part. You have no skills for anything else. You've spent your entire life training for a job that required you to be broken. You can't farm, you can't trade, you can't fight. You're unemployable anywhere except the court that's already abandoning you. Most jesters ended the same way. Old, broken, cast aside. If you were lucky, you'd be pensioned off to live in poverty, occasionally brought back to perform for memories.
If you weren't, you'd be turned out onto the streets, a former entertainer, now just a disabled beggar. Some died in service, collapsing mid-performance. Some drank themselves to death. Many simply faded away, forgotten by the courts that once depended on them for laughter. Nobody remembered your name. Nobody cared that you'd spent your entire existence broken down for other people's amusement. You were a tool, and like all tools, you were discarded when dull. That was the life of a court jester. Funny? Not really.